Adam Schefter, the one and only ESPN NFL insider. Trey McBride, number one fantasy tight end. Great prediction or too bold?
I loved him last year, had him on my team, rostered him. I think that to me, Sam Laporta is going to be the number one tight end. Dalton Kincaid's going to be really good. Trey McBride is going to be up there. It's sort of like saying, do you prefer chocolate, vanilla, or mint chip? I like them all. I like them all. And it really just depends on the mood that you're in and whether these guys stay healthy. Like any one of them could be tight end one this year. Like Trey McBride is a beast and was great last year and was thrilled to have him on my team. Would be thrilled to have him again. But I like those other two guys as well.
You didn't mention chocolate chip cookie dough, by the way, which is my favorite. I know that it's crazy for you right now, and you're the best in the business, and we really appreciate you, of course, jumping on. I think one of the things that we're most concerned about in the fantasy world right now for people who are drafting and maybe people who have already drafted is like the whole Jamar Chase kind of situation. So
you're only the eighth person that's asked me this today. But here's what I will say. Okay, so we're recording this. Are we on live? I don't even know. We're recording this at 12:56 Eastern on Tuesday. I want to preface this because for all we know, in the next 10 minutes, they could reach agreement on a long-term deal. But for all the people, and there have been multiple who have asked me in the last 24 to 48 hours, should I draft Jamar Chase? Here's what I would say, and as what I have said. It's a dicey proposition. You would be getting one of the best players in all of football. And you might be getting, because I think he's going to go right now, if he remains unsigned, in drafts at about 11, 12, 13, outside the top 10. That's what I believe. Okay? You're getting a potential steal because the guy is unbelievable. But you're also taking on the risk that if they don't get a long-term deal done, that maybe he doesn't play, or if he does play and he doesn't have a long-term deal, I can tell you this, the moment there's a sore knee or a sore shoulder or a sore whatever, why is he gutting through that when he's waiting to be paid? So fantasy football is about risk reward, right? Yeah. And that this year would be the ultimate example. Like you are getting one of the elite players. If there's no contract issues, Jamar Chase is a top 3-4 pick. Easy. Done. But there are contract issues, at least as of this taping. And because of that, there is risk. There is risk that that deal doesn't get done. Now, again, if it does get done, it's a home run pick. It's a home run pick because he's paid, he's elite, he's great, the great quarterback, all those things. But what if it doesn't get done? Do we know it's getting done? No, we don't. Is it going to linger? It could. Is he going to sit? I'd be surprised, but you don't know. Is he going to bail once the season gets going if there's an injury? Like, here's a guy that sat out a full year. He's done it before. And again, with all the money going around for wide receivers, he's due to make $1 million in base salary, $1 million, when other guys are making in the 30s. Like, he'd be taking on a big risk to play, and he might do that. He might. So
I gotta tell
again,
you,
how's that for a breakdown for you?
Scary.
I didn't answer the question.
For sure.
Scary.
I didn't answer the question. I didn't answer it, but I gave you all the like fodder to process and think about.
That was a lot. That was a lot to download, and I'm a little bit scared. You scared me, Schefter. And by the way, does anyone else get so excited? Like every time he looks to the side to like check his phone, I'm like, is it happening? Is it? What just came through? And I don't want it to happen. Actually, while you're here, I'm conflicted. Because I want it to happen, but I also want to keep you here as long as possible. And so I'd go break the news on ESPN.
I'd love to see the deal get done. I draft Wednesday night.
You haven't drafted yet.
I have 2 drafts Wednesday night. Yeah,
both of them are Wednesday night.
And in fact, I'll give you more breaking news. I am considering a trade offer. I am considering a trade offer. I have the number 1 overall pick in the ESPN War Room League.
Okay.
It's a 16 team league. And
Ooh.
the proposal that we've landed on with Field Yates would be I would trade him picks. You could write this down. Ready? I
Got
would
it.
Oh
trade him
yeah.
pick. I would trade him pick 1,
Uh-huh.
32, 64, and get back 6, 27, and 59. And I
Wait.
right now am mulling that. I have some calls out. I'm not going to identify the player that I would be taking at 6 just yet, but
Wow.
I am strongly thinking of doing that trade
I can
because I love Christian McCaffrey, one of my favorite players. Love watching that team. But is he going to duplicate last year? He's going to
See,
duplicate.
see, here's the thing, Shefty. We had a draft last night with a
Yeah.
bunch of our pals, and I had the number 1 overall pick, and I was deciding whether or not I wanted to actually keep it or not. Lindsay wanted it, but she had the 8th pick. I didn't want 8. And, you know, I got Jordan Mason. And so I'm like, okay, I got Christian McCaffrey,
later.
but I got
Here's the
Mason
here's the
a little
problem
bit
with that.
later
I've
on.
gone
So
through
I
this.
feel okay about it.
I've gone through this in my mind. I hear what you're saying. If something, knock on wood, were to happen to Christian McCaffrey, it's not the Jordan Mason show. It's just not. It's
But who else
Debo.
do
It's
they
Iyer.
have?
It's everybody. It's Isaac Garindo. It's Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's not going to be Christian McCaffrey. Like I thought
No,
about
I
that.
understand that. I understand that. But still, you get touches in it. Kyle Shanahan offense. Like, I mean, listen. I mean, we saw Carlos Hyde finish as the RB8 under Shanahan. He had 50 something catches. Carlos Hyde was never that good, and he went to Ohio State. So you probably love that because you're a Michigan guy.
Hey, listen. I'll just say this: that my fantasy reads on Shanahan backfields through the years. Like there was a year in Washington where everybody was taking, I forget who the running back was. I forget who it was. It was a top guy. And I took Alfred Morris.
Alfred Morris, right.
No,
yeah.
I took Alfred Morris in the last round of all my drafts.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody, Ray Kalu or something like that. Or who was it?
Roy Halou.
Roy Halou. Roy
Yes.
Halou.
Mm-hmm.
Roy Halou. I don't know how that came to me, but it just did. Everybody was taking Roy Halou. Everybody was taking, and there was another guy. And I just kind of came up in the last round and took Alfred Morris in all my drafts. And Alfred Morris that year went for 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I remember telling everybody, Christian McCaffrey, number 1 overall. Told everybody.
I remember that. I actually remember that. Yes.
And even my boss had the number 1 pick. He's like, I'm going to take Justin Jefferson. I'm like, I take McCaffrey. And McCaffrey was the guy. And I still like McCaffrey. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not feeling him this year at 1 the way that I did last year. I like him. And by the way, if I don't make the trade, I'll sit there at 1. I'll take McCaffrey and we'll roll the dice. But I'm not feeling it this year at 1. I'm just not. I don't know, like Super Bowl hangover. Like today, as we tape this, if they can get the Trent Williams deal finalized, which they're all hoping to do, it's not yet done, but they're finalizing it. If they can get it done, today would be the first time all off season that Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, and Brandon Ayuk were on the same practice field together.
Yeah.
Today.
Yep.
They played late. They lost both their starting guards. I have some questions. Like I don't feel like it's a layup. That's all I'm saying. Like I did last year. I'm not feeling that. And so the question is, in that trade that I am considering with Field Yates, the great Field Yates, it's more about I have certain guys in mind at 27 and 59.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm not randomly making that deal, Lindsay.
But I mean, I wanted to comment about how the very many moving parts in dealing multiple picks. And I don't even know how to do that on a platform without just switching the entire slot and you take all of their picks. So this is next level stuff that you guys are pulling off if you are in fact even able to do that. But how have you isolated 27 and 59 and the difference there being in the middle of the route? Well, it's not even the middle because it's a 16 teamer versus being at the 1 there. How many mocks have you done to figure that out?
you know what? Field Yates and his team partner Matthew Harrington, he runs the fantasy show on Sunday, and they're much tech savvier than I am. Like so literally, he just sent me the proposal. 132.64 for 627 and 59, and I don't know that. So literally, all I have to do is accept the button, and those slots will become theirs and mine. I don't know.
Okay, so I would like to lodge a complaint then. I would like to lodge a complaint because you have a lot of power at ESPN. If you can, on the ESPN platform, which I'm sure that you guys are playing on, if you can trade specific draft picks without trading the entire slot, then you could get a draft board. Like, can you please just tell someone high up, we need a draft board to look at when we're drafting? There you go. I've done my part. That's all I needed to get off my chest.
Hey, Schefty, if Schefty can't get it done, nobody can get it done there at ESPN, right? For sure. So that's yeah. So, Lynn, should we start up with a little rapid fire here with Schefty?
Okay, we're just gonna hit some of these. We kind of stayed away from like specific draft questions because we thought maybe you'd already done the draft, and so. But
I'll give you my honest opinion on some of these.
Okay,
love it. All right,
you want to start? By the way, like I've already written out my sheets. Like you write in the name, like old fashioned.
Dude, you're old school, bro. I love it.
Right.
If you had a draft board, you wouldn't need to do that.
One of the highlights of my year is kind of writing this all out and dividing it up. 16 teams, 15 rounds, getting the boxes just perfect. So anyway.
Adam, I don't know if you remember the pain of pre-internet when those of us who played fantasy sports were looking at the USA Today box scores and trying to figure out how many points my running back scored that week.
And now it's simultaneous, right? It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So good.
All right, Lindsay, you start things off.
All right, rapid fire fantasy football questions. Best rookie quarterback in fantasy football, Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams? Or are you going to go like Bo Nix or something crazy like that?
I was going to say, or Bo Nix. Like I wouldn't discount him from that category. Now, the thing is that, Jaden Daniels uses his legs and Caleb has got so many weapons, but I just think that Bo Nix is going to be better than people think this year. I just think that Bo Nix, nobody's drafting Bo Nix, right? Nope. He's going to sit on most wires. In my 16-team league, there might be somebody that picks him as a number 2 quarterback if they feel like they wanted to. But I believe that Bo Nix will outperform his fantasy expectations for this year. How about that?
Wow.
Okay, but you're not taking him over Jaden or Caleb in terms of
I know I
number one at the end of the year.
I wouldn't draft him over those guys, but if I needed a 2, I would definitely look at him. Yes.
Okay. Which quarterback will score more fantasy points in year 2, Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud?
I'm going to go CJ Stroud. And that goes against what I did on the ESPN draft. That took Anthony Richardson very high because I thought it was a fun thing to do and it would create some conversation. But CJ Stroud has so many weapons. And I know there's some people, I don't understand why they're like a little down on him as a fantasy quarterback. I don't get that. Why are people down on him?
I don't know that anybody is down on them. Maybe it's just, heightened expectations. I don't know. But I mean, he's a top 7-8 quarterback at worst in fantasy.
Yeah, and that's what I would expect. Anthony Richardson's he's gonna run for a lot, but I still worry about the injury factor. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just last year. If we go back to college, he's a guy that has had a history of some injuries, unfortunately. And hopefully he can stay healthy this year and have a big year. But because of that, I'm going to go CJ Stroud.
Okay, if CMC does not lead all running backs in fantasy points this year, who will?
Well.
He's scared. He's scared of the 6. This is who it is. This is who it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He wants Bijan at 6. He's not going to say anything.
Okay, we'll move on.
No. I'll just say this.
Leave something though.
No, I did not. Trust me when I tell you that. I do think. Look, I don't think it's any secret. Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson. I think both are going to have big years. I really do.
So,
all right. And by the way,
a mystery.
The guy I'm thinking of may not even I may not even mention the guy that I'm thinking of at 6. So
you don't have to go up to 6. You don't have to go up to 6 for that guy, Schefty. Come on, we know the draft board.
I understand that, but look, you can't just start picking your spot Like it just doesn't work like that.
Like
So
27 and 59.
that actually is pretty intentional. I will say that. That is
All
pretty
right.
intentional.
I
Somebody's been
can't
looking
wait
at
to see
some
who you took in those
ADP data.
spots. I
All
want
right.
like to. I want
By the
you to
way,
tweet your follow up, and I know you
yeah.
can't spam your notifications and stuff,
Well,
but I
I'll
do
say
want in
this.
some way for you to
Yeah.
tell us who those people are and if you got who you wanted there.
If I do the trade, which I don't know that I will, if I do the trade, I want to make some calls first to teams and kind of ask about these guys first.
Oh man, what?
But
that's awesome.
well, it hurt me last year. Last year, I remember I was in the ESPN Sweet 16 or the finals, the last game of the year, and I had Jalen Waddle who was hurt and he wasn't going to play, and I needed a Broncos receiver to replace him, and there were two choices: Brandon Johnson or Little Jordan Humphrey. I called out to Denver and I spoke to a few different people, and I'm like, what do I do? And they're Brandon Johnson. Well, what happens in that game? Little Jordan Humphrey scores a
I
touchdown,
remember that.
and Brandon Johnson
They
gets
burned
tackled
you.
at the one. And then I remember I also had Kenneth Walker on my team. He was listed as questionable with a groin injury, and I'll never forget it. My fantasy league mates still tease me to this day. I called out to Seattle. I speak to Pete Carroll, John Schneider, the coaching staff. Like I speak to multiple people. Like, do we trust Kenneth Walker? And I remember distinctly the message that came back unequivocally was, well, here's the deal. He could go out and score a touchdown on his first play, but we don't know how he's going to hold up, and we are concerned about his groin. And I was like, okay, you've said enough. I benched Kenneth Walker for Tajay Spears, and they were right. Kenneth Walker did score a touchdown on his first carry, and not only did he score a touchdown on his first carry, but he also scored a touchdown on his sixth carry. And if I had just played Kenneth Walker and not called anybody in Seattle, I would be the defending War Room League champion.
Oh,
but
man.
I had to make phone calls to Denver and Seattle. I had to get the latest information. I had to make the most informed decision possible. And
that is cheating.
It's not cheating. It's doing your work. The most informed decision turned out to be the most ill-advised decision. And it cost me a War Room title.
Do you, when you're making these calls with your fantasy roster in mind, I'll let them know that that's what this is. And this is not so that you can, break the news on
there's no breaking
NFL
news. I gotta talk
or
about
anything like that. This is selfish.
I talked about Kenneth Walker on the fantasy show. Here's what I'm doing. So there had to be other people in my situation that were debating whether or not to play Kenneth Walker, right? Like
that's a valid
I'm not trying to hoard the information. I'm trying to be able to report on Sunday on ESPN's fantasy show or Sunday Count. Hey, Kenneth Walker is going to play, but the team is concerned about how long he'll last. Again, that's accurate, but he lasted and he scored twice. And so I often say sometimes the more you know, the less you know. And that is the greatest example that I could ever think of. Like it's, how about the story? And this is why fantasy is so maddening. Matthew Hasselbeck used to play fantasy football when he was the quarterback of the Seahawks. And there was a year where
I know the story. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
There was a year where his two quarterbacks were himself and Brett Favre. And Brett Favre had a really favorable matchup, and Seattle was playing a tough defense. I don't remember who they were playing. And so Matt Hasselbeck benched himself to play Brett Favre. And in that game, Matt Hasselbeck set the Seahawks franchise record for 6 touchdown passes. And he had himself on the bench. So like you would think he knew himself well enough to play himself, but he didn't.
Yep. I had years and years ago, I played in a fantasy league with Jay Glazer. And at this point, Chris Carter was a free agent. Like he wasn't with the Vikings anymore. And then because I always look at the transaction where suddenly I got an alert that Chris Carter got picked up by Jay Glazer. I'm like, something's up. And like 2 minutes later, it comes out that he signed with the Dolphins. So like, if I'm Adam, I'm doing the same thing. I'm scratching and clawing to that championship, no matter what.
Mort used to do that. Mort would pick up Tim Tebow, like out of nowhere. Like what he picked 1 year, he picked up, like 2 or 3, he picked up Andrew Luck, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And Mort was doing it just to play with everybody.
Do you when you get a tip like that? Do you make the waiver claim? Do you pick the guy up and then tweet it out?
There was a year where I got the news at dinner at about 6:07 that the Cleveland Browns. Was it the Browns were trading Trent Richardson to the Colts, or the Colts were trading Trent Richardson to the Browns? They were trading him to the Colts.
The other
To the
way.
Colts, yes.
Yeah, he started with the
Yes.
Browns.
Browns to Colts. That's what it was, right? Browns to Colts. And so they traded to the Colts, and literally I reported the trade. I sent it into the ESPN news desk. I put it out on Twitter, and then I went to go pick up Willis McGahee from the Browns backfield, and Matthew Berry already had picked him up. And I said, well, we're not going to have this again. And so now I'm making sure that I got the player in the queue, and I'm filing it to the news story. We're not doing that again. So fantasy is serious business.
I love
people don't even know, man. These fast thumbs, you're like, gotta be first, but also hold please, because I got to make this move for my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Listen, honestly, one of the reasons I love playing fantasy, because it keeps you in touch with some of the things that matter. Like, so now you're more determined to check on a wide receiver's hamstring or a quarterback's shoulder or whatever it is, because in all honesty, fantasy holds such a lofty standing in our society, and it means so much to so many. I always say to everybody, and it's true, it means nothing and it means everything.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I've got one more I want to ask Schefty, because I know we've kept them for so long.
Yeah, way too long. This could last all day.
We could do that. All right. Say that you are on the clock. You want a wide receiver. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are both available. Who are you taking?
Oh,
I like them both.
You can't have both, Schefty. Gotta have one.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm picking at the turn like I am on Wednesday night, I could have them both there, Michael.
All right.
Oh,
come on.
Go get both of them.
All right. So I'm not
I've got one more, because he clearly knows his fantasy, and he has prepped, and he has a hand-drawn grid, for crying out loud.
Damn right.
So I want to know. Right. I want to know this. Give me a couple sleeper names.
No,
like later rounds.
No,
you're really going to hold on to it for Wednesday?
Somebody might hear
it. Thursday. By the way, on ESPN Plus, I put out a cheat sheet of guys that I like. They're all there. They're all there. Truly. Like, all the guys I like.
Or did you keep a couple close to the vest for yourself?
They are all there. Now, I will say, 2 years ago, I didn't use Kyron Williams there. And again, another example of the more you know, the less you know. Okay. Kyron Williams was my guy the last 2 years. And I told all my friends 2 years ago, draft him. Like, I've had a few of these guys, like Alvin Kamara, his rookie year. I told everybody, I still have people, in my neighborhood that come up to me and thank me, like, "Oh, you told me to take Alvin Kamara, my last big thank you." Now, he didn't do anything that year, his freshman year or his rookie year, till like his fourth or fifth game of the year. They were playing in London, and then he started to explode. But the last 2 years, I was big on Kyron Williams. And the first year, he broke his foot on the opening kickoff of the season. Like, I told so many people, with your last pick, take Kyron. Last pick, Kyron Williams. The guy breaks his foot, non-factor all year long. And I told people again, take Kyron Williams again. Like, again, you're going to tell us to do this? It's kind of like, Jet fans getting their hopes up last year, and now they're getting their hopes up again. You're doing this to us again? Yeah. Like, yeah, they're going to be good with Aaron Rodgers, assuming he's healthy. And I don't really have a guy like that this year. I've got a few guys that I like later, but they're all on the list, Lindsay. They're all on the ESPN fantasy cheat sheet list. All the names are there. They're all there.
I think Bo Nix might be one of them.
I do like Bo Nix. Yeah.
I do like Bo Nix. This was amazing. I love this. So
You're
fun.
The best, man.
So fun
You're
talking fantasy football with you. You can tell that, like, you actually know what you're talking about with regards to fantasy, because sometimes the two don't necessarily translate. Oh.
I'll just say this to you. There's nobody that cares about fantasy football any more than I do. Like, there are a lot of people who care. I live, eat, and breathe it. I love it.
Yeah, you're a good man.
That's it.
This makes me like you even more than I already did, and that was a lot. Okay, no missed calls. I mean, I see,
I got no texts.
Right
I got somebody right now.
He's waiting to talk about Jamar Chase,
right? Thank you so much.
See you, brother. Thank you, man. Love you.
Enjoy week 1. Take care, everybody.